725-1484. And during that time, when we were ready for public comment, you will see public comment on your screen with the phone number. So please feel free to call in if you have any comments or anything that you would like clarified. Right now, we will have Jeremy lead us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which is one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. There. Thank you. We have a couple of proclamations to read tonight that the recipients receive the actual proclamation besides this meeting tonight. So our first one is National Police Week. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which that date falls as National Police Week. Whereas law enforcement officers are guardians of life and property, defenders of the individual rights of people, war against crime, and dedicated to the preservation of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas it is known that every 2 days an American police officer dies in the line of duty, and our community joins with other cities and towns to honor all peace officers everywhere. And whereas the city of Fortuna desires to honor the valor, service, and dedication of our police officers, and now therefore I, Sue Long, Mayor of Fortuna, proclaim the week of May 10th to May 16th, 2020 to be National Police Week, and call upon all citizens to give special honor and sincere appreciation to the police officers of the city by deed, remark, and attitude. I further call upon our citizenry to make every effort to express our gratitude to the men and women who make it possible for us to leave our homes and families in safety each day and return knowing they are protected by people willing to sacrifice their lives if necessary and to guard our loved ones, property, and government against all who would violate the law. Signed this 4th day of May 2020 at the City of Fortuna, State of California. So, you know, our police officers are really struggling right now with all of the rules and crazy releases because of this pandemic. So if you see them out there, give them a wave, you know, tell them thank you. Just, it has to be really, really frustrating. So we appreciate you guys. Our next one is a proclamation for all of our city clerks, and Fortuna is blessed to have an amazing city clerk staff. So here goes this one. 51st Annual Municipal Clerks Week, May 3rd through the 9th, 2020. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas the professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas the professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Sue Long, Mayor of the City of Fortuna, do hereby proclaim the week of May 3rd through May 9th, 2020 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerks, Yana Emmons and Buffy Gray, and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Signed this 4th day of May 2020 at the City of Fortuna. So special thanks again to Sienna and Buffy. We really appreciate it. So now is the time that we will take oral comments from the public on anything that is not on the agenda. So if you would like to address the council, please call 725-1484. We'll give it a few seconds to see if anyone calls in before we move on to our next part of our meeting. We received no phone calls, so we will close our public comment and move on to our consent calendar. There are 2 items on our consent calendar. Do we have someone? Oh, perfect. Okay. Okay. And you might still be on
This is,
mute. This is when you touch the black part of the screen and you're on. I think they mute everybody.
that was for the 3 minutes of public comment.
You know what you're doing now. Sienna, did you get is the public comment finished? No.
No.
Do you have like a little summary of what he said, or should we just move on? Okay, right. Sienna, thank you. All right, our next item is the consent calendar. We have 2 items, city council minutes from April 20th, which there was 1 correction that I had already notified and it's been taken care of. And then we have our report of disbursements. Would anyone like to pull anything? Hearing none, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second the motion?
We have a motion and a second. Sienna? Do you want roll call or just aye?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Our city council business, our first item is authorization to award a professional services contract for engineering services for the Kinlaw Road and Highway 101 Interchange Improvement Project. Staff report, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Long. Staff's recommendation is that the council authorizes the city manager to enter into a professional services agreement for the Kinlaw Road and Highway 101 Interchange Improvement Project with GHD and to establish a contract value not to exceed $550,000. This project is currently in the city's capital improvement program and is capital improvement program project number 9978. A little bit of background: in 2016, the city completed the Highway 101, Fortuna, downtown and Riverwalk area complete streets and connectivity planning study. The goal of that study was to provide an assessment of design alternatives to improve the connectivity between the city's downtown and the Riverwalk area and identify projects to improve both pedestrian and vehicle connectivity between the 2 areas and to reduce congestion at the city's interchanges. The project focused primarily on the interchange at Kinlaw and Highway 101 and 12th Street and Highway 101. One concept for the Kinlaw interchange was developed that consists of installing a dog bone shaped roundabout, which is 1 roundabout on either side of US 101 on Kinlaw Road. In addition to the roadway improvements, the project would also include a separated bike and walking path with connections to the future Strong Street Trail. And actually that segment would be part of the Strong Street Trail. There were also other concepts identified for 12th Street, but given the congestion at the Kinlaw interchange, staff decided to initiate a project at that interchange first. In 2017, the city requested that the project be programmed into the regional and state transportation improvement programs, and ultimately it was approved by the Humboldt County Association of Governments and added into the regional transportation plan and approved by the California Transportation Commission and added to the state transportation improvement program. However, the project only received funding for the first phase of the project, which is called the project approval and environmental documentation phase of the project. This phase of the project consists of preliminary design and environmental documentation, but would also include a significant amount of coordination with Caltrans, preparation of the necessary CEQA document, and a significant portion of the design necessary for the project. On March, so again, this project, it does not have construction funds yet, just the first two phases, project approval and environmental documentation. It's anticipated that in the future that the city would be able to find another source of funding for this project to complete the construction, and that would come from state or federal funding sources in the future. On March 13th, 2020, the city engineering department released a request for proposals for professional services for the funded phases of the work. Only one proposal for the project was received, and it was from GHD, an engineering firm in Eureka, California. However, their fee exceeded the project budget by approximately $135,000. We contacted Caltrans and reviewed the many scopes of work that were included in GHD's scope of work, and several task items were identified by Caltrans that they would be able to complete in order to bring GHD's overall effort within the allowable project budget. I'd like to share my screen here momentarily and just show you a brief, a summary of the task list. And of a summary of the task list. And I'm just looking for the screen sharing ability. Here we go. So the table that you can see here is a summary of the 7 tasks that GHD included in their scope of work, including project management, public outreach, surveying and base mapping, engineering studies and preliminary design, environmental mapping and studies, CEQA and NEPA documentation, and the project report. In the second column, you can see GHD's fee estimate, which totals $685,974. Working with Caltrans, you can see that Caltrans feels that they could take on and complete a portion of the project management associated with task 3 and 4, which are survey and base, as well as task 3 and 4, which are the survey and base mapping, and a portion of the engineering studies and preliminary design. So with these proposed assistance on tasks from Caltrans, this brings the project just within the project budget to an estimated fee of $549,000. The city has $550,000 available for this project. So although we haven't received the final scope of work or negotiated the final fee, we're confident at this point, provided that Caltrans can follow through and complete those tasks, that we can complete the project within the project budget. The project is included in the 2019-2020 capital improvement program with a budget amount of $550,000. Staff is recommending that the council authorize the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with GHD for this project in amount not to exceed $550,000. So with that, that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Merritt. Does anyone have any questions for Merritt at this time?
Sue, I want to reflect back. One of the major causes of the congestion at Kinlaw was exacerbated by Caltrans aggressively closing Drake Hill Road on and off. And once that happened, councilman, and I'm not sure whether Mel Birdie was mayor at that time, he and I met personally with 3 representatives from Caltrans in City Hall that told us to our face that they would welcome to work with Fortuna to resolve the congestion that's been caused at Kenmore. So I am digging this up from the archives that we definitely need to be working with Caltrans and call them on their promise to see if they actually will help us, whether they help facilitate getting more funding or whatever. But I think we need to have them as partners as well.
Mayor Long, I can give you a response to that, or add a little bit if you like.
Sure.
So Councilmember Glaser is correct. The environmental document that was done during the closure of Drake Hill Road did say that Caltrans would monitor the congestion. And I think their willingness, we did not have to, go back and refer to that, but they recognized that this interchange is a state facility. They recognize the city's effort, and they were quite agreeable to trying to assist with this effort because they recognize that it's a benefit to the state highway system as well as the city of Fortuna. So we did not have to push very hard. We've had good cooperation from Caltrans on this project, and honestly, we wouldn't be moving forward right now if they didn't step in and agree to help us with some of the tasks like the surveying and some of the engineering reports that will be necessary. So I would say at this point, based on their participation, that it's a strong indication that they're supportive and willing to work with us on this project.
Thank you, Mayor.
Great.
We will open public comment. If anyone has any questions or comments they would like to make, please call in.
I need to stop the screen share. Yes, I am working on it.
It's 725-1484 if you would like to call and comment on this item. Sienna, did we receive any comments? Okay, so we will close public comment and move on to a motion.
I make a motion, we authorize the city manager to execute a professional services contract with GHD for the Kinlaw Road and Highway 101 Interchange Improvement Project with a contract amount not to exceed $550,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Sienna?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. All right, thank you. We'll move on to our next item of business, which is authorization to award a construction contract for the Jamison Creek Fish Passage Improvement Project. Staff report, please.
Yeah, so on this project, it is staff's recommendation to award the Jamison Creek Fish Passage Improvement Project to Mercer Fraser Company, establish a maximum contract amount of $1,750,000. Due to the compressed time frame between the bid opening date and tonight's city council meeting, the bid results were not available prior to this council meeting. We kept the item on this week's agenda to try to move the project forward ahead of schedule. As school is not in session, there's lower traffic due to the COVID-19 emergency, and staff felt that it would be good to try to accelerate this project and take advantage of the lower traffic volumes. The bid package was released and publicly advertised on March 30th, 2020, and bids were opened on April 29th. The city received 6 bids and had very good participation. The bid results, I'm going to share my screen here, and it was a very competitively bid project, and the bid results should be coming up on your screen now. As you can see, we received 6 bids ranging from $1.378 million to $2.4 million, but you can see there are a number of bids that are very close with the bottom 3 bidders. All of the bidders are reputable contractors that have worked in Humboldt County, and most of these contractors have done projects for us in the past. I would just say it is somewhat of an indication of the work environment that the city creates with contractors working here to see this kind of a participation. So having contractors wanting to work on projects in the city of Fortuna is a very good thing. And I think these bid results exemplify that. So Mercer Fraser is the parent low bidder for this project. Are there any questions on these bid results before I continue with my staff report and take them off the shared screen? Okay. The project, the bid totals range from 1.378 million to 2.4 million. The engineer's estimate for this project was 1.8 million. The apparent low bid for Mercer Fraser has a total bid price, as I mentioned, of 1.378 million, which is well within the established city construction budget of 2.5 million. The city's consulting engineers confirmed the bid received from Mercer Fraser was fully responsive in that their sub-consultants have active licenses and registrations and recommend awarding the project to Mercer Fraser Company. Mercer Fraser has also completed several projects successfully in the city of Fortuna recently. Construction was originally anticipated to begin around the middle of June. However, staff hopes to expedite the schedule and allow the contractor to start in May, towards the end of May or the beginning of June. The limiting factor will be the ability to start working the channel, which is not allowed till the middle of June, and the construction of the precast culvert, which the city is purchasing separately and will be furnishing to the contractor. The construction budget of $2.49 million also includes a purchase of the culvert, which we expect to be approximately $386,000. This will leave approximately $2.1 million for construction of the contract. For the construction contract with Mercer Fraser. With Mercer Fraser's bid price of approximately 1.378, that leaves us a large contingency of approximately $721,000. This project is 100% funded by grants from the Wildlife Conservation Board and the Department of Fish and Wildlife with a very limited staff time match of less than $10,000. So staff is requesting an approximately 27% contingency of $1,750,000, and we'll be looking at many elements of the project during construction to see where we can make improvements that would enhance the project. Things we'll be looking at are the adjacent storm drains within the project footprint sufficient? Can they be replaced? Are there other improvements that we can make that'll enhance the project to make use of these grant funds while we implement this project? So that concludes my staff report. And just to reiterate, staff's recommendation is that the council authorize the city manager to award the Jameson Creek Fish Passage Improvement Project to Mercer Fraser Company, Inc. and establish a maximum contract amount of $1,750,000.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. How is the culvert proceeding? Have you heard anything? Is it into manufacturing stages?
Yeah, they finished the shop drawings. Those have been reviewed by our engineering consultant, and we've signed the contract, and they've initiated the construction of the precast culvert. And
their delivery schedule is in keeping with
Well, the delivery schedule is still we have our deputy city engineer, but I believe it's the middle of June to the beginning of July. And so we're hoping that we can expedite it and have things ready. One thing they might be able to do to expedite it too is they do have to dig the culvert down before they even get to the channel. It's a rather large excavation. So even if had assurances the culvert was coming, we could start the excavation and have the culvert show up and then be able to put it back in. Again, we're going to make every effort to minimize the timeline that we have this project open. Again, we will be closing Rotorville Road. And one of the things that we were able to do that really made this project more competitive was we were able to work with the utility companies to relocate the utilities to underneath the new proposed culvert. So those have already been either have been or will be relocated before the general contractor moves to the site. And so that'll and also to have the precast culvert, so that'll greatly simplify the project. It's mostly an earthwork project and a culvert placement project at this point, with some restoration elements within the channel.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions? Are we clear on the motion? Did everyone get the supplemental page that was sent out? While you think about that, we'll open public comment. If anyone would like to comment on this item, please call in. Yes. Okay. We will close public comment and move on to a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to award the Jamison Creek Passage Improvement Project to the lowest bidder and establish a maximum contract amount of $1,750. Is that right?
$1,750,000.
$1,750,000. That would have been a better deal, mine. And authorize the city manager to execute the contract and other related documents.
Second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Sienna?
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. We now have a city manager's report.
Thanks. So at first, I'd like to review the upcoming meeting schedule on our next regularly scheduled council meeting. Again, unless things change, will be via a Zoom teleconference meeting, much like tonight's, and that'll be on May 18th at 6 p.m. Our next planning commission meeting is scheduled for May 12th, also at 6 p.m., and that'll also be a video teleconference. The next Measure E meeting date is proposed for September 15th. However, we do expect that there may be a special session of a special meeting of the Measure E meeting before that time, so that they can provide input on their recommendations and other things to the city council. And then the May 6th Rotor Community Recreation and Park District meeting was canceled, primarily because staff's going to be occupied with police chief interviews on that day. So as far as my verbal report, I was pleased to attend a Cal OES briefing and review the governor's news conference this afternoon. And I was happy to see that given the state's improved preparedness, the reduced number of cases in many counties, and the state's ability to respond, that they expect to modify the shelter-in-place order later this week. And so they're going to provide some guidance on Thursday, and they're hoping that certain types of businesses will be able to open as soon as Friday that are currently not allowed to operate. Another item that was discussed in the Cal OES briefing, the state is implementing a plan to provide meals to seniors from local restaurants. This could benefit seniors in need and also provide needed business for restaurants that are currently closed. The program is required to be implemented by a local agency, is reimbursable from FEMA and Cal OES. We are considering project partners for this program and whether or not the city should proceed. We submitted a letter of intent to the state today, and once we confirm that there is need, that there are restaurants that are willing to participate, and to see if there are other potential local funding sources, we want to look at those things before we decide whether or not to continue. But basically, it would provide 3 healthy meals to qualifying seniors a day at a cost of about $66. The city would be responsible for about 6.5% of that fee if we could not find another local funding agency to help with that. So that's something that we'll be looking for, and I'd encourage anybody, if they have an idea of the needs of the community, to get in touch with me at City Hall. We've also been working with Assemblymember Wood and McGuire to obtain reimbursement for expenditures that the city's made to respond to the coronavirus emergency. To date, the city's expended approximately $35,000, and we expect to spend approximately that amount, twice that amount by the end of May. So a total of about $70,000 by the end of May. I'll keep the council posted on this effort. Most of the costs that we've incurred so far are some of the equipment purchases to allow office staff that can work remotely to work remotely, sanitizing and disinfectant and personal protective gear. And then also with our crowded police department, we've taken use of the building at 2600 that was vacant to be able to establish more space for some of our patrols to be able to use that building. So we have a number of things that we've been working on and had some expenses, and we hope to be able to recover that. And we appreciate the work by Assemblymember Wood and Senator McGuire to bring some funding back to local agencies. There's still no proposals to reimburse local agencies for lost revenue, but only direct expenses. As I mentioned earlier, we are proceeding with the recruitment of a new police chief. We'll be interviewing candidates on Thursday, and we're very optimistic about the potential for successful recruitment. We have some very qualified applicants, and we're hoping that we'll be able to move forward with hiring a police chief. We closed escrow on the building at 2600 Newburgh Road, and the property is now owned by the city. We anticipate closing on the adjacent vacant lot as soon as tomorrow. These parcels are intended for the future use as a police facility. As a result of the COVID emergency, our police have begun making use of the building for police purposes, and they've also been working to identify a floor plan that may serve as an interim configuration until a full facility can be constructed. I'll be bringing more details and a request to the council in the near future, and it's my hope that we can find an interim configuration that will last for at least the short term with a significantly lower cost than the anticipated $5 million that would be required for a longer term project. I continue to meet with our finance director and department heads to develop the city's budget. We're working to reduce costs across the board to meet the budget challenges the city is facing from the loss of revenue as a result of the COVID emergency and rising pension and insurance costs. In the interim, we have frozen many vacant positions, furloughed many of our part-time employees, and we'll be considering furloughs for full-time staff where there is not work demand. We initiated the Business Resiliency and Emergency Loan Program after the council approved the program on April 6th. And to date, I believe we have 3, maybe 4 approved loans, and we're seeing continued interest in the program. From the staff side, we are working on a reopening plan for City Hall and trying to identify what procedures and modifications may be needed in order to allow City Hall to reopening. Some of the simple things that we're doing is installing plexiglass on the windows to get the separation from the public, and identifying other measures that allow for a safe reopening that aren't constructed items, but how would we have social distancing? How would we have that separation? So we are working on that in anticipation of wanting to open in the near future. So that concludes my staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Merritt. Any questions? All right, hearing none, we will move on to future agenda items.
Sue, I would like to put on, I brought it up a while back, but I want to touch it again. Have us as a city ban 5G cell towers to be installed in any portion of the 95540 zip. Our city limits, as well as our sphere of influence that has the zip code.
Is that something staff can take care of, Merritt?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to have a discussion item. We have one proposal right now that they've come to the city and asked for a approval process. And so I think that, staff's intention right now, if there's, they require a separate agreement, they're not subject to franchise. So it'd be an item that does warrant some discussion. So we'd be happy to bring a future agenda item to just have a general discussion and get staff can have an understanding of how the council feels about these types of projects and whether or not we can or should allow them to proceed.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Hearing none, we will move on to city council report. Dean.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. It's nice to have our city manager make a mention of some of the results that came from the public's input for the survey discussing the non-essential businesses that have been restrained from being open. And last meeting 2 weeks ago, I brought up the fact that from the public standpoint, and it seems like there's a great deal of animosity now, more than there was 2 weeks ago, that the logic of closing some businesses that do not involve lots of employees as well as public being within, there's no justification for their closures. So hopefully the items that have been decided by the Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm not sure whether the city managers were participating in this as well, but hopefully what's conveyed to the city on Thursday and what's opened on Friday is something that satisfies some of the dissent that is showing from the public's, like I said, animosity. The doctor, all I have to say is that if you're dragging your feet, the number of people that are going to be showing up in locations to show their dissatisfaction is going to increase. If that's your goal, to see how many people you can annoy, you will see a lot of people being there with signs and supporting more opening of businesses. As for Thaddeus, to say that I don't have any ideas, you should have talked to me ahead of time. I have a lot of ideas what's on that list, and a lot of them are common sense, and hopefully the Department of Health and Human Services will be using common sense rather than dragging their feet. So consider delay is going to increase the animosity by the public, not just Fortuna people, but everybody in Humboldt County. So I hope you take that into consideration. I want to have positive things happen for Fortuna. It's already been told that we've lost over $500,000 of revenue, which is going to have to affect our budget in a negative manner. It was conveyed that probably $30 million worth of revenue loss has occurred in Humboldt County. Likewise, those businesses that help support the revenue for the cities is diminished, and they are also going to have to be taking into account budget reductions. So the sooner we get back to logically returning our cities, Fortuna especially, back as close as possible to the way it was, the sooner the better. So all I could say is, for the people that are listening, we are concerned. I hope the doctor shows our concern in what she decides to open up. And I hope there's a timeline of maybe something in a week, and then you reevaluate in a month, or you reevaluate after a week, and then reevaluate again and do it in small steps. So I'm on the sideline watching, and the next meeting, if it seems like you haven't done good for the public, I'll be just as testing on your decision, and the public is going to be the same way. God bless America. God bless our troops. For those people that have been securing in place, I know I'm going to use the word hell, and we want it to end as fast as possible. So hang in there. Maybe we're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel with the Department of Health and Human Services, and some good changes are going to happen. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dean. Mike?
Oh, well, we haven't had a lot of historical commission or HCOG meetings, but I was able to attend a follow-up meeting with the League of California Cities regarding revenue and businesses and revenue loss and the effect of that, which I think we all already know. I've been participating with the county OES calls and listening in and getting some information, how different communities are handling things and what's happening. But one of the big things was following the Board of Supervisors meeting last week and participating, making a public comment. And I'm following up with Dean's comment and his just wanting to see businesses open in a logical manner. I called about the same thing, and the loss of the businesses themselves that have shut down and employees. And Dr. Frankovich, prior to my public comment, had made the point that she wanted to do what made sense, not just what's on the list. And looking at things in that manner, what makes sense to open. And I'm gonna look at things with a positive, optimistic viewpoint and see how it goes. I'm looking forward to Friday and for our local businesses someone to be able to reopen and to put their employees back to work. So with that, I want to thank again all of the people in the grocery stores, the gas stations, the medical staff are following up with what Sue said earlier, the police department, and they're being out there every day dealing with God knows what, and our fire department, and especially what's Mayor Long had mentioned the last meeting about the CERT team and following up with the senior citizens and making sure that they're not falling through the cracks. So thank you to our community for being the place that Fortuna is, that takes care of its own. And I'll turn that over to Jeremy now.
Thank you, Mike. Jeremy, you're up.
Thank you. I haven't had any meetings regarding my obligations to the city since our last visit. I wasn't able to attend the Redwood Coast Redwood Coast Energy Authority meeting after last month's meeting. Fortuna Business Improvement District hasn't met, but I know that they're diligently working with the city to support the business community here in Fortuna. And Parks and Rec hasn't met and has a limited schedule currently. I was speaking to the city manager earlier today about looking forward to the future and how we're going to reopen city services and how the economy is going to open and what that looks like for the Parks and Rec department as far as, say, summer fun. So that's something we're going to have to work out as we find out more from our governor how we're going to reopen services throughout our city. On a personal note, I'd like to say thank you to Fortuna Police Department, Fortuna Fire, and the Highway Patrol that showed up. Last Saturday, my son hydroplaned on Highway 101 right in front of right after the exit of Homer Boulevard, and our first responders were there in no time at all, giving of their Saturdays as they always do. And he was unhurt, and his car is not. His car is very messed up, but I just appreciate email messages, Facebook messages, concerns about my son's well-being, and I just appreciate Fortuna and Humboldt County for that in general. Also, I'm really feeling the pinch and the hurt for local businesses that have had to modify their business hours or modify how they operate. I really want to see our economy reopened in a safe but aggressive manner. I will congratulate our sheriff for doing what he felt was right regarding local recreation with regards to beaches and so forth. I thought that was proof of his valuable leadership, to say it as nicely as possible. I don't know what else to say. I don't like this. It's over for everybody. I want to get what we love about Fortuna. Again, I want to say that the high school holding out to try and do something for their graduating seniors is to be commended as well. A lot of other superintendents for elementary schools and so forth are trying to figure out a way to do something very special for 8th graders. And I just love that about our town and our community. So I'm commiserating with you all. Want to see us back as quickly as possible. And whatever we can come up with as a collective group to that effort, I want to do that. So take care of yourselves, be safe, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy. Tammy?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a Humboldt Transit Authority meeting this week via Zoom. And let's see, I'm still delivering meals for Feed the ER, which I'm enjoying doing that. And I also wanted to thank the Board of Supervisors and the Sheriff for really trying to get our economy back going and our everything in place, nice and safe. They've been doing a lot of work. I've been keeping in a lot of contact with Sarah Sanders, our rep from Sacramento, keeping up on what's going on down there, and with our Board of Supervisors. So hopefully things will be moving along and getting back to somewhat normal soon. I'm glad that our county is doing so well, and we have had, hardly no one in the hospital and very few cases, which I'm very proud that we have that. So I just want everybody to stay safe, and hopefully this will be over soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. So in addition to our council meetings that are coming up, we are having 2 special meetings to discuss our budget. One is on May 11th at 8:30 and one is on May 19th at 8:30. So if you would like to sit in on our budget, that would be awesome. We do have someone waiting right now who wanted to make a public comment. Yana, do you want to go ahead and put them on? Okay.
Mark, are you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. You're live with the council.
Okay, great. Hey, my name is Mark Seitz. I'm the pastor at Fortuna Church in the Nazarene, and I could tell you more about myself, but many of you know who I am. I just started a 3-minute counter on my computer, so you guys will be happy that I am punctual. I just wanted to call in and really express my deep desire to see businesses reopen, as well as my shock at some of the things that are happening across our nation and in our state. One of the things that I find very disturbing is the news where our Humboldt County District Attorney, I know the paper might have kind of baited her into this answer, but I called into the district attorney's office and the lead investigator didn't walk back those comments that people not wearing face masks will receive a $1,000 fine or jail time. He did not walk those back. In fact, he defended those comments. And I told him just how incredibly disturbing I find that, especially in light of the fact that here at our church, we're a church, and so we really don't mean ill to our neighbors. But we had an incident last summer where the Christian school that leases from us had several $1,000s of computers stolen from the building. We had damage to the building, and Fortuna PD took the report and never got it to the DA to begin with. And then the DA really doesn't have much interest in actually taking care of this. And the police somehow were able to ping these computers, and actually they knew exactly what house they were, and all the evidence was there. And I pointed out to the district attorney's office just how troubling we find this, because real criminals in the city of Fortuna are not being pursued. And yet honest citizens in my church would be pursued by the district attorney's office for not wearing a face mask. We are troubled by the fact that churches are shut down with these orders. And let me read to you the First Amendment from the Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. While we would willingly and voluntarily do anything to protect the safety and the health of our neighbor, we believe that the time has come, or at least I do, as a leader here, as a citizen, and as a community leader, and as a pastor, that the First Amendment has nothing in there for a virus, for a pandemic, for anything. We would be the first to be on site for somebody dying that needs our help, to hold a hand in the hospital. And I just want to encourage the city council to please open up commerce, please open up everything that you can, because the First Amendment's not suspended. We willingly, withhold final judgment on these things, but now is the time to find a way to open things up, okay? So thank you so much for your work. Bless the community. We appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so the Board of Supervisors will be meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. On their agenda, they do have a letter to the governor requesting some leniency for Humboldt County due to the fact that we are a rural county. And so hopefully that will go well, and I'm sure there'll be quite the discussion for that. REDEC's next meeting is May, which is the same as our council meeting, so I will not be able to attend that, as my alternate Jeremy will not be able to attend that either. So they'll have to carry on without us, Jeremy. And I think that's all we have. So, a lot of the previous council members have already thanked the community for all you're doing. So I would just echo that and stay safe, and we'll see you next time via Zoom, probably. Does somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second the motion. Good job, Tammy.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.
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 Hey.
Thank you. Good night.